Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to talk about something that I think is a little bit of a mistake, and it is the upcoming release, of an unpainted Funko Pop that you can get, a Space Marine Funko Pop, which will be available on Warhammer Day, which is the 29th of June. And I think it's a mistake for a very, very simple and easy reason. There is also going to be available on that day a Sisters of Battle model. A new Battle Sister will be available for purchase. Plastic, the first, not really the first, it's technically the fourth, first plastic sister will be available, but it'll be available on that day, Games Workshop and third-party retailers, and then direct from Games Workshop itself after that. It's not limited. It will be available all the time, constantly. You'll be able to get one if you miss out. If you don't get one on that day, you're good. This, however, is limited. This is one that you paint yourself. This is a Funko Pop that you actually paint with your own paints. It doesn't arrive pre-painted, and it is limited edition. It will only be available while stocks last in Warhammer and Games Workshop stores, and from GamesWorkshop.com, and will be first available on Warhammer Day, the 29th of June. So once they're gone, they're gone. If you don't get one, you've missed out. You cannot get another. And that, honestly, does strike me as being... it's something of a mistake, to be totally honest. I mean, these things have proved to be, vastly popular. More popular than I think they even thought they were going to be. They won the Community Choice Licensing International Award in Las Vegas, which is the only award that you get or something from there. They've done really, really well. Unsurprisingly so, I have to admit, but probably better than a lot of people were expecting. And if there's one thing that I would have thought would only make these more popular and kind of get them more in the minds of the existing customer base of Games Workshop, it would be permanently offering one that you paint yourself, as opposed to only offering one that you paint yourself for a limited time. This strikes me as really, really odd. I mean, at the moment, as it stands, unless you're a fan of the current chapters available, if you want to actually go and repaint these yourself, there's obviously a bit of faff and a bit of legwork involved. And the idea that you would make a limited version of one of these, which appeals to every person in the hobby currently, is really weird. It just seems odd. It just seems genuinely strange to me. I'm assuming that an unpainted version of this would be cheaper to produce than a painted version. That seems like a sensible assumption to me. And I would also assume that given the nature of Warhammer 40,000, given the nature of Games Workshop customers, offering that just endlessly, just having it as another version of this product, would make a vast amount of sense. This feels like a forced scarcity model. This feels like something whereby the reason it's limited is not because there's some sort of issue with making a bunch of them, it's because there's a good chance that they'll sell out instantly if they're limited. I can't see any other reason as to why you wouldn't continue to produce these unpainted. Because when you look at the actual customer base of Games Workshop, obviously these things are designed not just for us, people who buy 40k products. They're not just designed for the people who are currently invested in 40k, who are currently invested in Games Workshop as a whole. They are also designed to spread out into another section of, I guess what you could call the collectibles market. There are people who have vast collections of Funko Pops that are from franchises that they wouldn't otherwise care about. It's not the franchise they care about, it's weirdly the franchise of the Funko Pops they care about. So anything that falls under that umbrella will be added to the collection because that's what they collect. It's not limited to one game, it's not limited to one IP or one franchise. It's the act of collecting these things in itself that, they get the enjoyment from. And that's fine, and that makes perfect sense. And as a way to expand out into other markets, things like these Funko Pops are a really, really good move. I say all they're doing, it's not as simple as that, but all they're doing is licensing out the stuff that they have, and other companies essentially do the work in producing the product, and it's an everybody wins situation. They get to add more stuff to their portfolio, and Games Workshop gets a nice extra chunk of change from licensing out their IP, and everyone's a winner. This specific move of releasing an unpainted one feels like something that should have been there from the start and should just be endlessly available. Because at the moment, if you, as I say, if you don't like the current chapters that are covered under this little expansion of the Games Workshop IP, you've got to faff about a bit to repaint them. And whilst this product might not be specifically aimed at existing Games Workshop customers, whilst it might be a branching out thing and not necessarily a method for getting more money out of people who are already invested, that feels like a really easy way to get more money out of people who are already invested, to target the people who actively want to paint these themselves, who actively want to, do them in their own chapter colours, or want to make up a chapter, or want to have multiple ones of these that they've painted themselves to represent the different armies that they have. I mean, they are of course limited in the fact that they are just Space Marine at the moment, and I mean, we may see other races show up eventually, I have no idea. I would suggest that it's most likely just going to stick with Space Marines for the moment, because they are the most iconic, recognisable. They're the poster boys of Games Workshop and 40k, and so it would make sense for them to just stick with those if they were gonna stick with them. But this specific thing, if anything would persuade me to actually buy one of these, it would be this. It would be an unpainted version. And I cannot for the life of me think that there are not a good number of people who aren't in the same position where they would look at that and go, well, I was interested until it was just a Space Marine, a Blood Angel, a Dark Angel, like a Dark Angel and a Space Wolf, but I actually I thought you could paint them yourself, or I thought you might be able to get a different chapter. Now you can. Now you can do whatever chapter you like. You can literally do whatever you want with this thing, and it arrives in such a state that you can do whatever you want with it. Making it limited is literally limiting how many you can sell to people who would otherwise be swayed towards buying this thing. Because there are plenty of people who, may not just care at all about the Funko Pop stuff. I mean, that's where I was. That's where I kind of still am, in a way. I mean, up until this particular moment. Whereby it was a case of, oh, they've licensed it out, it's going to be expanded out into another market. That's cool, great, nice. If you like this stuff, then that's absolutely grand. You've got an extra thing to go for. You've got an extra thing to collect. It's not for me personally, but then not everything has to be for me personally. That's why, when there's like a whole month of non-Army I Play releases, I don't get all that pissy, because it's not for me. Other people exist, and other people deserve to have things too. It just falls under that category. I'm happy for the people who like it. I'm not too bothered. This, though, genuinely interests me, because whilst I might not care about Funko Pops as a whole, I like the idea of painting one. I like the idea of having it arrive unpainted, that I don't have to faff with, that I can just turn into my own thing. I mean, I've got my stupid Terminator Star-Lord's army back there. I would quite like to have one of these in the colours of that army. That would be fun. That would be a nice project. That would be still related to the hobby. It would still be based in 40k, but it would be a little bit of a break from painting the miniatures that you normally paint. It's a different scale. It's a different, it's just, it would be different to do. It would be interesting to do. I'm pretty sure there would be a good number of people who would like to do that, and this being limited just limits the number of people that you could get caught on doing this for. I mean, I've got my Star-Lords back there. I could easily see myself buying this if I can get it quick enough, because we all know they're going to sell out literally instantly. I mean, they say it's going to be available until stocks last. Stocks will last until people, in the first 5 hours of it being available, clear all the stocks out. If I manage to get one before they disappear, I could very easily see myself enjoying painting it and deciding that I want to do one in the similar colours to my Dreadnoughts. I could see myself messing around with one and making an Emperor's Children style one. I could easily see those things happening, because it has a start, a basis that the existing ones don't have. The existing ones just come as they are, and as such they're not that interesting to me. This one has the potential for customization. This one has the potential for painting it the way I want to paint it, and I cannot for the life of me believe that I'm the only person who is going to be interested in that specifically. I feel like this is something that is going to be popular enough that it's going to disappear straight away. And the fact that it's limited and it's just going to be while stocks last, and we're probably not going to see it again for God knows how long, it is genuinely just a case of forcing scarcity. It's making it rarer than it actually needs to be. As I say, I cannot I don't believe that it would be more expensive to produce a painted version of this, a coloured version of this. It surely has to be cheaper to just produce it in one single colour, which you can then paint over yourself. So manufacturing costs can't be that big an issue. When it comes to, you know, deciding whether or not it would be worth it, whether people would actually buy it, I mean, it is literally a hobby consisting of people who buy the unassembled models, put them together, in some cases, you know, completely change the purpose of whatever kit they've bought, and then spend hours painstakingly painting every single detail. You are not telling me that something like this would be completely, you know, uninteresting to the people who are properly invested in 40k. I just, like, why is it limited? Why is it limited? Why is it just going to be the one, like, why is it just going to be until stocks last and then disappear? I feel like this is a great way to bridge the gap between the people who don't care about this stuff, like me, and the people who, you know, enjoy every part of the painting process of this hobby, which, again, whilst painting isn't my top of the list for things I enjoy about 40k, it's still up there, and I still do it to relax, and I still enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy it enough to have, I don't know how many painted models in this room. I mean, the bloody Death Guard half of Dark Imperium is not a, like, it's not exactly a tiny number of models, and then the Nighthaunt side of Soul Wars, there's fucking 20 Terminators back there, there's a bunch of Primaris Marines down there, there's like, people like me are that should be the prime target for this thing, but you cannot be a prime target for something if that thing has got no longevity and is just going to vanish once they've all gone and then never make a return. It just seems weird. It's like, it does actually feel like a forced thing whereby it's limited edition, not because there's a problem with making loads of them, but just because it is. With things like the contrast paint, I can understand that maybe they didn't think it would be that popular, that perhaps they didn't want to build up a shitload of stock and take a load of shelf space with the risk that it might not all sell and, you know, mess up the supply pipeline or whatever. This, it's not really the same. It just feels like it's being made to be rare, which is irritating, especially when it's something that is as customizable as it is and could bridge the gap. But it's not going to bridge the gap if there's none left after the first hour, so I don't know. Seems weird. Seems annoying. Maybe if it's really popular, they'll do like a second and third run. They might do it in batches. It might be that like 2 months later you can get it again, or like every 6 months they do a batch of, you know, unpainted ones, and they'll go through every single version of the Funko Pops because it's the Intercessor one at the moment. Might be that after that there'll be the Blood Angels one, and the Dark Angels, and then the Space Wolves or something. But right now it just doesn't. It just feels like a bit of a mistake making it limited, you know? Anyway, once again, very rambly. That's happening a lot at the moment. My brain is all over the shop, but you're used to it at this point now. If you've watched this channel for more than like a week, you're used to me going on and on, so it's fine. Thank you very much for watching. As I've mentioned in the last couple of videos, YouTube is having a hilarious time of it when it comes to advertisers and terrible decisions and, you know, the usual just war zone that is this godforsaken platform. So if you want to in some way help the channel, me, I'm the only person here, so it's me. There's a link to Patreon in the description down below, which you can click if you'd like to. You don't have to. There's also, of course, an affiliate link for Element Games, whereby you don't have to spend anything more than you normally would. In fact, Element Games is 15 to 25% off all the shit they sell, and it's a lot of stuff, by the way. It's not just 40k. Pretty much anything like tabletop related, you're good to go. If you use that link, I get something for sending you that way, and you don't spend anything extra. So if you were just going to buy a bunch of paints or another, you know, another night household, for instance, doesn't cost any extra, and I get a thing. So you can do that if you like. Of course, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. I'm not your mum. I'm not telling you what to do, apart from, obviously, do eat some vegetables. Otherwise, you will not get the vitamins you need. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like. Don't click it if you don't want to. And I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.